Trustee Don Ryan, next mayor of the village of Hempstead. Trustee Don Ryan, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. The purpose of us gathering today is that there's some information we want to share with you. We hope it resonates because Tuesday's the election day. But before I do that, I just want to give a little background when it comes to the Don Monte Wayne Hall marriage. Don Monte came into the village of Hempstead with the intent of doing something on North Main Street. It's going to be mixed use. And he had 250 speaking engagements to various groups in the community. He never mentioned anything but North Main Street and mixed use. And yet when he filed his first site plan, it was neither mixed use nor North Main Street. It was parking lot 1, opposite Town Hall in the corner of Washington and Clinton. This was upsetting. The mayor even commented on it, and let me just read it so I don't misquote him. He said, "I don't know why they picked that corner, because we have a lot of issues, because that's where the town of Hempstead parks. It is crowded, and it's not one of those parking lots that's hardly used." Yet as soon as Don Monte got together with the all flipped. And this is one of the things we seemingly happen again and again. Now Monte was not just satisfied that he had parking lot 1, he was going to build 2 apartment buildings, 336 units. He now wanted the residents of the community to bear most of his taxes. So he applied for a pilot. A pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes. What Don Monte wanted was a 20-year pilot forgiving him of 68% of his tax consequences. He ended up with a 10-year pilot. He was not a happy camper. Nevertheless, the mayor has also said to Newsday, and I'll quote again so we get it correct, he had told them, "One thing the village has is a lot of pilots. When you give it to apartment buildings, they don't create jobs." Now I agree with him, but he flipped again. Don Monte was going to create 11 jobs in return for what amounts to like $33 million. But we shouldn't be surprised, because earlier when they met in the back room, the mayor practically gave the village away. He gave the parking lots to Don Monte for practically nothing. This village is soon going to become Don Monte's village and not ours. So it's a disappointment that that has occurred. Now, one of the reasons that I'm not happy at all is the cooperation at the school, at the village board, is not great. The mayor has an arrogance because he knows he has 3 votes. And I told him I'm not happy about this pilot, and he said, "Sue me." So we sued him. And now at the original part we lost, but it's in appellate court. We still have a chance to prevail. And the lawsuit says simply this, that it is not an apartment dwelling, a practical and legal use for a pilot. You cannot find it if you look into the list of those acceptable uses for pilots. So that's what we're hanging our hat on. Unfortunately, when we lost the first round, the judge wrote back in his opinion about how this was needed to start this $2.5 billion or whatever figure they come up with project. That wasn't part of our suit. It shouldn't have even been in the answer. So we have a grounds for an appeal. They've agreed, and the appeal is in process, so we can see what we do. One of the reasons I don't trust Don Monte is the fact that Don Monte called me in the back room after I began doing the no vote on his projects. And he said in front of Trustee Perry Pettis, who was here, and also Ed Scott, who was then of Urban America, "If you don't get on board soon, I'm going to find it difficult to do you favors once the project gets underway." I said, "That's the appearance of propriety. My vote is not for sale." I left the room and I went to the district attorney's office and I gave him a write-up exactly what happened and asked for an investigation, which hopefully is taking place. Now Don Monte, of course, and the mayor are connected. And why it's important is something that we bring to your attention. And this is the reason that we're all gathered here today. Don Monte has given the campaign $100,000. That's $100,000. And the reason that we're upset about it is it's not filed in the village. When we foiled to find out all the donations he got, it's not listed. We had to get that information actually from New York State's Board of Elections, their campaign financial disclosure. And what happened is he filed with what they call the Political Action Committee, and it's called the Committee for a Safe and Vibrant Hempstead. It seems the law allows you to donate whatever you want if it's not to a politician, but it's to a cause. However, there is an exception here. His was an independent political action committee that he filed. And from that, it says that there cannot be any cooperation between the two. They have to work independently. Look at the couple of pictures that we have here. Obviously, they're connected. Paul and Monty have been connected step by step throughout the entire process. And the problem actually is that Monty's interested in Monty. And Hall can't say no to him. The result is that taxpayers have to bear the burden of these pilots, payment of low taxes. Do you think that 100% that he wanted, 68% is on us? It is unfair. And he wants now additional pilots, probably one for every parking lot. And I'm concerned, because if this happens, we're going to see for sale signs and foreclosure signs, and this village is going to be a ghost town. It's unacceptable, and we have to be able to make a difference on Tuesday. I'm on row B, the party that's running with me, and I'm proud to be with them, Charles Renfro and Lamont Johnson, the trustees on row B, and Paul Dell is our village justice candidate, also on row B. So obviously we're here to ask for support, but we wanted to bring to your attention that the $100,000 that he donated is not fair. And we're suggesting it's not even legal, and we're asking the New York State Attorney General to investigate this conflict of interest. And we're hoping he can rule in our favor. Obviously, what will happen depends on exactly how quickly they act. But it's obvious that the mayor should send a letter to everybody in the village apologizing for his lack of ethics. And there should be a heavy fine to discourage this type of action in the future. One of the things that alarms me is when people want to run for office, if they have to run against people who live out of town, who are wealthy and spend huge dollars because they have an interest in our local election, obviously that should put up the antennae. Something is wrong. They have their own hidden agenda. In this case, not so hidden. And what they're looking for is to get rich on our backs, and it's not fair. And I want to make sure that the talent we enjoy in this village would run for office in the future without having to think that they have to battle somebody who's going to throw $100,000 at the machine. I'm also concerned that as we go forward, that this not be a smear campaign. The mayor should have kept this discussion off the barroom floor and put it on a more academic level. They're calling me everything. I used to think I was a nice guy. It's unbelievable and unacceptable. And this is going to discourage other people from running. I don't want that. So I'm really hoping that we win to turn this community around and make the future possible for all of us to enjoy the democratic process. I thank you all, and I would entertain questions.
Now, Don, you attended the groundbreaking on Main Street as well, right?
Yes. I was there. I voted actually for the North Main Street project. It's the only thing I voted for. I voted no on everything else. And that's the reason for the discussion in the back room. I did not hold a shovel out. Actually, my presence there was in hopes that maybe there would be jobs, but I'm more interested in North Main Street having light industry and commercial, and more interested in careers than jobs. So the direction we're going is not complete and correct. Any other questions? Anybody want to ask me how to beat his own press in basketball?
The Renaissance project that they try to put on the table. What would you do with the 10-year pilot that was already stolen?
Well, now
because the community was not for it.
I don't think that 10-year pilot is valid. I actually don't, because at the time he did it, he was connected with RXR. The RXR, I believe, is out of the picture. It's now Avalon Bay. I think they have to start over again. Next week it might be Barnes & Noble.
Exactly.
Or Baskin & Robbins. I don't know who is going to be teaming.
What would you do?
I would eliminate all of those letters that are for it, and I would go and campaign against the pilots. Bring somebody in here who can afford to build what they promised without doing it on the backs of the residents of the village.
Okay, and what would you do with the 17 parking lot giveaway?
Well, I would certainly do everything possible to try to get it back. I would need probably a stable full of Philadelphia lawyers to figure it out, but we would try. And we would change the personnel of the committees that make some of these decisions. But frankly, he's not going to do anything with them if he doesn't get a pilot, because he's not going to use his money.
Exactly, but still in all, he has 17 parking lots of the village, of which they knew nothing about it, and they're still paying the taxes on it.
It's obscene. There's no question about it. We're singing to the choir here. Giving away the village makes no sense. The small amount of money has been returned. I think it was a box of T-shirts and a pittance.
Well,
and he
Bristol,
has the
Connecticut
village.
threw them in their T-shirts out of their town for the same plan that is being implemented in this village.
That was Bristol, Connecticut, and I applaud them. Nashua, New Hampshire did the same,
Exactly.
and he was thrown out of Glen Cove
And
as
I haven't
well.
seen a project that the Renaissance have completed with that floor plan that they've come out with.
Actually, at one of our board meetings, somebody said, show us something you have done. He had
Exactly.
nothing to show us that he has
Exactly.
done. And he's taking credit, the mayor, now for so many things, including the shot spotter, which Reggie Lucas, we know you were the one who promoted the shot spotter. We had to give it to you just to quiet you down. But the fact is, it's an effective tool that we're using, and we have to thank you.
Well, that depends if we have an effective police department, and I don't find that.
Well-
I don't find them credible in our village at all.
All right, if you understand one thing, we do have Lamont Johnson, retired police officer, on board. We do think there's some things we might be able to do, but the police department still I applaud because their work is not an easy assignment. Better?
But they knew that
Sure.
when they signed in.
But good? Yes.
I got a question for you, Don.
Yes.
You know, the last couple of weeks, I've heard a lot of things that have been false about you, and I personally know you 40 years. So, can you state for the record a lot of the things that you've done for Hempstead, just as a civilian,
We got that much time?
over the last 50 years?
We got that much time?
Do we have a- yeah,
Give us a couple of things that Mayor Hall did other than what we see for the past
Mayor
12 years.
Hall
Nothing.
has said to me, not to me, but to the New Democratic Club, maybe it was even his son, that he coaches basketball as if I'm supposed to apologize. But my involvement as a volunteer coach in this community for 56 years is not my only contribution to the youth of Hempstead.
Exactly.
But if it were, I'd be willing to stand on that record alone. At Hempstead High School, half a day I was released to handle the job placement program. During the 25 years I headed that, and Satch, you were on staff for a while too, several thousand students got their first work experience. And we improved their employability with a paid work experience, and we encouraged them to remain in school and to develop or reinforce responsible attitudes. It was even a training program for them in reading, math, and life coping skills. So there are many things I've done. Incidentally, I don't often agree with Jay Jacobs. In fact, I've called him the groundhog. He shows up once a year, comes up and sees if there's an election. There's not, he disappears. If there is, he gives the mayor money and manpower, and in return, he wants influence. But he had a meeting, and his meeting, I don't know how many have heard of this, but he gave a pep talk to all ministers, and he said, look, I know Wayne Hall hasn't done anything for 12 years, and I know he's not a good leader. But we need to get him elected because I can control him. I couldn't have given a better one. And I'll tell you something, too, that's so disappointing about it. Jay Jacobs one time accused me of something at this very spot, of which I had no knowledge. It was totally untrue. I hired an attorney, only to find out, unfortunately, many attorneys, their attitude is, that's politics. And the idea of suing people for slander seemingly is not something that's easy to do. But it's something that we are considering. It's an alternative to try to get people to be truthful.
Don,
Yes.
I got a question for you. If you become mayor, what is your plans for as the project continue on 180 Main Street? Knowing that a lot of the residents of the village of Hempstead are looking forward to get work and be able to support their family.
Well, I had voted for North Main Street's project. And if he had done what he had promised, we'd be 3 or 4 years down the road. And you and I now wouldn't be discussing jobs, we'd be talking about careers. So the idea was exciting. However, the man, I can't trust him. I'm going to be trustee no when it comes to anything that's attached to Don Monte. Because he had all those speaking engagements, telling everybody what he was going to do, and then without telling the residents, the mayor or the trustees, he did a bait and switch. And that's the problem I'm having with him. I don't trust him.
So your point is that if you become mayor, you are actually going to stop the project on
That's not my
180
point at all. That's the words in my mouth. I said to you, if he had done,
Can you let him talk?
if he had done what he had promised, we'd be. If he had done what he promised, we'd be years down the road, and we'd be talking about careers and not jobs. If we can get a project going, hopefully light industry, hopefully commercial, I think it's good. To bring 10,000 more people into the village of Hempstead, who are already overcrowded, is not a good move. For example, the school district's trailer park. The streets are in disarray. Traffic is a mess. The infrastructure is ancient. We're going to need water, more staffing, higher taxes. It's going to create a monster. We need people willing to invest in this community who are investing their money and not the taxpayers' money.
Okay, another question for you.
Sure.
The fact that you have so many residents of the village of Hempstead are looking forward of these jobs in the village of Hempstead, and being in the fact that you've been going around and telling the residents of the village of Hempstead about the training program and getting them set for training and to be able to go out into the world and support their family. I think this is one of the biggest and the greatest opportunity for the people in the village of Hempstead, and I think that this project should continue on.
This is a get-rich-quick scheme for an out-of-town individual who has no love for this village. Now, you're talking about a training. We do need that. I have met with them. The training programs seemingly are in Suffolk and offer no transportation. We got to get them here so the young people we have are trained can get hired. You realize the jobs they're talking about for our young people are going to last a year. We want something that's going to last a lifetime.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you brought that up because we have a training program that is certified by the state to train people.
Are you talking down Fulton Avenue?
Yeah, we're talking about now. This is a new program that MMCG has, a training program that is certified by the state to train people, carpenter, electric, plumbing, welding, all different trades. And I think that's something that's great for the village of Hempstead, and it's great the fact that this project is coming along. That way, when the project do start full gear, that you have qualified resident that can go out to those jobs and be able to perform.
I would separate the two. The training program you described sounds excellent. I would support that. Training programs of that nature have a future for our residents, and I'm all for that. Necessarily tying it into Don Monte's plan to build apartment complexes in the village of Hempstead, because that's what he's doing. He's masquerading as mixed use. I'm not happy with this project. I don't think the direction he wants to go is correct. And I think he exposed himself when his first site plan had nothing to do with North Main Street and had nothing to do with mixed use. And one of the things that disappoints me, at board meetings, people trip over each other to get to the mic to tell us how great Don Monte is. I'd like them each to tell us what connection they have with the project. Many of them on his payroll. Well, of course they're going to give the answer. And that's not correct.
Do you remember the front cover of Newsday for the hirees? The whole front row was all white contractors.
They were from Suffolk County.
Hire from Suffolk County. Not one of them were from the village, nor will they be.
Now, let me respond.
Okay.
Let me point something
I
out.
ain't talking about
The
demos.
mayor is talking about 25% of the jobs are going to go to targeted
Doing that
youth.
for years.
Let him respond.
It says that they're going to make a full effort for 25%. That's more than a subtle difference. They're not saying 25%, they're going to make an effort for 25%. That's more than a subtle difference, and that upsets me because I could see down the road where we could all gather and argue, where's the 25% of our Hempstead people working? Because they're going to say, we made an effort. I see a hand here, yes.
At the contractors thing, their convention at Judea, they said that even with all the training and all that stuff like that, that no people from the village of Hempstead was going to get any jobs. It's going to all be union.
That's all lies.
That's the same
That's
reason
all
why
lies.
the pilot.
That's
The
all
pilot
lies.
agreement was
But your
this neighborhood.
Wait a minute. Excuse me.
Hold on. But listen, let's do it right.
I wasn't talking to, just like you said to the lady. You understand what I'm saying? So please don't respond. Let him respond.
His comment is not a lie, it's what he heard. Whether it's the correct information or not comes up down the road. But he made the statement that he heard that, and I agree with him. He's an honest man. He heard it. He said it. Now we can debate whether or not it's true or not, but we don't have the information in front of us at the present time. But I would agree with one thing. The direction that we're going under Don Monte is not the correct direction. And the fact that he was willing to spend $100,000 so that he can get the mayor elected tells you that he is trying to fix this election. How's that for words? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind attention. I appreciate it.